right, everybody. It is Saturday afternoon here, about 4 o'clock, at the 72nd Annual Detroit Autorama. Roll the wheels here, and we are doing what I love to do best, talking with the Grade 8 winners. So it all came out yesterday. Couldn't get a hold of everybody yesterday because it was just in madness for everybody. But one of the coolest cars that I did see, most of the time, Grade 8 winners, you see a lot of chrome, you see a lot of paint, a lot of everything. So this is probably the first time it caught my eye when I came over here I got here on Friday morning, I think it was. And we came through, and of course, I ran across the Nightmare. And the Nightmare is a 49 Pontiac Chieftain, which I noticed right away.
Yes.
And I didn't think I don't know if I really saw your group yesterday because I would remember the orange and black shirts. But I found you today when I finally got out there. So the Grade 8 this year, one of the biggest ones I was seeing all the talk and the hype on the internet is definitely the Nightmare. And the Nightmare is the one to talk about. So right now,
I appreciate that.
yeah. So I have Derek Sampson is the builder.
Yes.
Right. And I have Danny Asher, who is the builder or the owner.
Yes,
right?
sir. That's correct.
So tell me how this thing started, guys, and who got hold of what. Obviously, Danny, you had the car, right?
I had the car.
And then how'd you find Derek?
Well, kind of introduced, heard about him. Went over to Marshall, Missouri to look at a shop, talk to him, look at some cars and some work he was doing. I liked it. Went back and got the car, brought the car over to him. We started talking, planning, told him my ideas. He shared his ideas with me. And over the last 10 years, you have what we have today because of his skills, his knowledge, and what he's done up to this point.
And you're a fairly young guy. How old are you?
I'm 72.
You're 70. and how old are you, Derek?
I just turned 40.
You just turned 40. And this is not your first Grade 8.
No, this is my fourth Grade 8 here in Detroit. I had my first Grade 8 back in 2011.
Wow. So you're talking. So how old are you in 2011?
I was in my early 20s,
That's a pretty big accomplishment for someone in their early 20s.
Thank you very much. My first show here was in 2007, and I brought a car that I had already shown at some other shows, and actually a big builder said, you need to take this car to Detroit and show everybody what you've done. Well, I'd heard about Detroit, but I was young enough that I hadn't had any experience here, so I was fortunate enough to come here. They put me on the front row, and that's when I got bit by the Riddler Award, and it's been a lifelong dream up to my point in my life right now to accomplish that goal. And just being in the Grade 8 is a huge honor, but especially for Danny as the owner to help, make his dream come true. So.
Yeah. And Danny, this is your first Grade 8 car?
Yes, sir. It's the first time I've ever been to Detroit and just so impressed.
Oh, really? So this is the first time you ever been to Detroit?
It's the first time I've ever been. Derek talked about it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting for this trip.
So even 10 years ago, you've never even just showed up at the show to see what it was all about?
No, sir.
Wow. So this is one heck of an experience for the first time coming out. Wow. That is very impressive. That is unbelievable. So it's been a 10-year build, you said?
I've been on it 24 years. It was
24.
14 years before he got a hold.
Yeah.
Wow.
Started on the car, had the car chopped, and started on the fabrication of the metal on the inside of the roof, and knew that I wanted it painted.
Yeah, and you knew that you wanted to paint it. So, and when you two got together, the collaboration of the Nightmare, is that what you were going for, was a Riddler car? That's what you talked about right away, Derek?
Yes.
Yes, and I told Danny, and he was familiar with the Riddler Award, but I told him that, I felt like his ideas and the vision I had seen with the car and what the beginnings of the design and some of the metalwork had been done, I knew that the car had extreme potential to be so unique and special, and putting the Sampson design twist on it, I knew that we'd have a chance to come here and make a presence with Nightmare.
Yeah, it's, a couple of things that caught me off guard on it. One, well, the car is impressive itself, but the display, how you kind of like put it up so high, and it kind of like stands up out of the crowd of everybody. Whose idea was that?
That was actually my idea. I ran it by Danny, and I said, Danny, this car sits so low, and it's so sleek, and it has such an Art Deco feel when it's closed up with the big swoopy lines and everything.
Yeah.
We both agreed that, at least one side of the car needed to be down like it was on the ground, so you could really see how much we had cut the body and channeled it and sectioned it and chopped it to get the lines so you could see all the work in the car. But then on the other side, you can see how we took the wheel off and the fender skirt off, so you can see all the workmanship up inside the car, and everything's double paneled and cut and buffed, and all the gaps are even and clean. And I'm a believer that, if you're going to build something beautiful, you need to present it just as beautifully. And by raising the car up on a pedestal, I think you can really get a feel for Nightmare, and really it starts to speak to you at that point.
Right. What Hoochoo is the one of the biggest things is that with the Nightmare, obviously that's what the name. Did the name come out right away? That when you started building it, and then the color of the black, obviously for
Well,
the Nightmare aspects.
Well, actually, Danny and I knew the color was going to be black because he told me when I took the build on that the car had to be black.
Okay.
And I said, okay, Danny, absolutely, we'll do the car black. Well, as things develop in a design, you kind of start to get a feel for things. We knew we wanted it black, and we started talking about the wheel design and steering wheel. And there were so many little elements that started to come together. One day we were talking about it, and it was just like, it's Nightmare. I mean, it's just the perfect name, and we just all came. It was like one day, it was like the light bulb went off and the decision was made. And from then on, it was always called Nightmare until we finished the car and made all the little emblems that say Nightmare. And we did them in that kind of semi-gloss black that just kind of blends in with the car. So it kind of reveals itself to you. It's not all in your face. And the more you look, the more you start finding all the little details that jump out at you.
So the Nightmare the name came out as a good thing, not as this thing's a nightmare and I don't want to be doing it anymore.
No, it was a good thing. I mean, we would joke sometimes working until 3:30 in the morning. Oh man, this is a nightmare. Little things and doing a black car and trying to get it perfectly flat and straight. And I painted that car 3 times and blocked it and kept blocking the paint to get it flat and straight. And sometimes his other half dollar would joke a little bit about that's a nightmare. And we're like, oh, it's part of what we do. And we love it, and that's what it takes to come to Detroit.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that on the circuit, anything, and pretty much anywhere around the country, the Rod and Custom Show, the Triple Crown, all those other shows, this is the holy grail. This is the big one right here.
It truly is.
It truly is. I mean, this is you really don't get any bigger than the Riddler.
You do not, and it really is what us as designers and builders work towards getting to Detroit. Always in the back of my mind, and especially the last 2 years, it's been very at the front of my mind because we all agreed that 2025 was going to be the year for Nightmare to make its presence known. Yeah. And I think all of us talk about it every day about Detroit and what it means to us. And to me, getting really my start here at the show as a kid, and being around some of the other big name builders and how much I appreciated them taking the time to talk with me and kind of give me a little nod of, hey, kid, you're on the right track. And it just made me want to work harder to go home and build that next car to come back.
Do you feel that is, and I get this a lot too, and, and it's with any successful person, I think. Once you get it out the gate, doesn't matter what age it is, but once you hit that pendulum, that echelon of where you said you got this your 4th grade A car.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, I did that. Now what else can I do? Because some people are like, I did that, now I can just breathe and do whatever. But nobody's like, no, I didn't get the Riddler yet. I didn't do that. Now I got one Riddler. Now I should be able to build another one. I feel that I can get that sense out of you right away because the way you talked about having your 4th grade 8 now and doing it at such a young age too. And you're still very young for builder standpoint and design standpoint. You get a long way to go.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that more importantly, it's an inward passion. And as long as you keep that passion driven with new ideas and a strong work ethic and always trying to achieve above and beyond what you thought was possible. Because I feel like if you get a grade 8 or a Riddler, which is wonderful and it's incredible, but I feel like you should never stop growing as a builder and a designer and keep being inspired by others.
Yeah, I think there's something to learn every day. I mean, I'm sure you see it not only with the grade 8, we get it that there's the grade 8, the upper row cars and whatever, but there's builders in the back here that just like you started, someday they'll be up in the front.
Absolutely.
What they can do. So now, I guess, Danny, have you always been into custom cars whole life?
I have.
Yeah.
From the time that you, when you first start driving, and I've always worked on cars and tinkered with cars.
Sure.
Built a lime green T-bucket with tune port injection in 85 and a Jaguar in that we had all over the country, and I've built several since then.
You built several since then. Okay. And how'd you come across Derek? I mean, what was it? Just word of mouth, or just somebody else did a ride with him, or how'd you do it?
There was a shop in town, and I was looking for somebody to do upholstery work, but I wanted somebody that was gifted, somebody that could do something different.
Okay.
And I went over to look at his upholstery work, and then I got to looking at his body work, and then we got to talking. I showed him some pictures of the car,
Yeah.
and we made a date. I took the car over, and it's been there for his place a little bit, and come back to my shop and did a little bit, and then took it back over to his place.
Yeah.
And here we are today with a car that's complete, and I am very, very satisfied with this gift.
That is great. I mean, and it looks like I can see your other half out there. She's got a smile ear to ear. And is it because the car's going to stay or the car's going to go after this, or
We're going to go. We both. I sold my business December the 31st of this last year, 2024.
Okay.
So we're going to go travel. We're planning on being in Chicago next week.
There you go.
The weekend after Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yep.
And
That's a heck of a show if you've never been there.
I've never been. This is the first time here, and I'm looking forward to.
There's some bucket list shows to go to. Salt Lake City is. You ever been to that one?
Haven't been to that show, been following it for years, but when we finished Nightmare, we both talked about it and talked about we're going to travel as much of the circuit with ISCA and championship auto shows as possible and go to the championship finals in the end.
Yeah. Those shows, the Salt Lake City show is very, very, it's not highly recognized. A lot of attendance goes there, but the best builders in the world are there. I will tell you that right now. It's, Ken Digg is from there. All those guys out there. He has the major display out there, and just talking with him one-on-one, and I don't know if you ever got to do that yet with Dave yet.
I have.
Great guy.
Great
guy.
awesome. Yep.
And there's such great builders, and I think the biggest thing that we do this every year. We do this a long time now for Pete Tunnis and the World of Wheels, and I've been blessed, too, to be able to do this. And as a builder and a car entrepreneur myself, to go through and do it, I think a lot of guys are really blessed, and they sit here and, it's family first and what they can do. And, when there's never no self-gratitude, I guess. Nobody's just bragging about being boast, pounding their chest. They give thanks to everybody who's on their team, and I saw that to you right away.
Absolutely, because it's really, first I got to give credit to the Lord and Danny for giving me this chance, but then it's all the people that work with me. I mean, we're a small crew, but we're passionate and driven, and this means the world to us to do cars like this. It's our passion, it's our lifestyle, working on these cars and trying every day to not only do our absolute best, but to also inspire the younger generation too that we talk to get excited to get their hands out in a garage or in a friend's garage and help them and just start doing something with their life and do something that can be so rewarding in the end.
Yeah, and you say talking out, reaching out to the younger generation, which is really impressive to me because, like you said, these other kids are like, oh, yeah, someday I'll do that when I hit, 40, 50 years old. You got a grade 8 in your 20s.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you don't have to have the $1 million shop. You don't have to have all this stuff. And I'm sure, and I shouldn't say that out of context. I'm sorry if I did. I don't know what your shop is like, but I'm assuming, when you were younger, you didn't have the multi-million-dollar shop or wherever it's going. And I don't even know if you just still do now. You said it's a smaller shop and you just like concentrating on regular builds, which I think some people get away from once they get to that next level and it kind of gets out of hand.
Yeah, I never wanted the shop to get too big that I couldn't keep focusing on the details. Because I always say as I design a car, it's all about the details first and then everything else falls into place after that. So even though we have 2 buildings and we've got a fantastic staff and we've got great tools, I never wanted it to get to where I wasn't out in the shop creating, designing, fabricating, painting, doing the upholstery hands-on daily, because I believe when you're building a contender to come to Detroit, you have to be daily hands-on the car, keeping track of every bolt,
Everything you do,
every detail, every stitch, every part that goes on, making sure every washer is sanded and polished correctly, making sure that as it's assembled that you keep track of every little thing that happens so you can take notes and know things that you need to improve upon before the show. And the more you get into that mindset, then again, it starts becoming a lifestyle of building these cars that each one you do, you try to be more meticulous, more detailed, a better plan, and just make the dream bigger. So
yeah, when you go back now, since you kind of touch base on the details of the car, and you and I just did a walk through the car before we got over here to do the interview, and we were talking about some of the details that I noticed in the last 2 days before I actually introduced myself to who I was, and talking over there. There's some of the details that I saw. Obviously, we talked about the chop channeling, even the degree of the roof pillar to the back, how you change the degree of that, and then using the 56 Chevy rear bumper to try the 3-piece and make it into one and all the contours. Like, that's a lot of design. That's a lot of thinking, to figure out what it's going to be. And I mean, that's Is that all you?
Yeah, it is. It's me, and it's also a lot of Danny because him and I work closely on the design to make sure we get the flow of the car just right. Because everything about the car, I told Danny, I said I want to make sure that every part on the car, that if you pulled a part off or while we're working on it and fitting it, and we got everything laid out on these benches and tables, that if someone in the shop or Danny comes in, I said I want you to know that every part you see, you can tell that it goes to Nightmare because every piece is thought out specifically for your car. And we want to know that I can see that every little design detail you've worked on fits my car.
Yeah.
And that's been an exciting journey for Danny because he'd come in the shop sometimes and there'd be stuff everywhere, but he could tell, yep, I can tell that's for
He
my
knows where it all
car.
went.
I know what this is. I can see where that fit, and that panel's like a puzzle piece fits into this panel. And that's also an exciting part of it too, is keeping his interest and seeing him light up every time he comes in to see the progress. So.
You know, one of the things that everybody knows, a Pontiac Chieftain, the biggest thing is obviously the Pontiac Indian Chief that was on the hood, and then basically it was glass or clear plastic that we always go
Absolutely.
through, and a lot of people took them over the years, put them on street rods, rat rods. So now you obviously when you look at the Nightmare, it's not on the hood, but then when you show them the interior, you have it on the console,
Yeah.
and it's just a sweet piece the way you put it, and then. You got a couple little pieces of Indian head here and there on the grill and on the hubcaps and stuff like that. But once you go in the interior, you like branded that thing with like Cheiftain. I mean, you can
Yes.
tell the big pieces on the door panel; those are very impressive.
Thank you.
And now, is that something you sell out, or you do it at your shop now?
So, Danny, you want to talk a little bit about the Indian heads?
Well, I knew that I didn't want somebody to look at the car from a distance when they walk in or they're looking at it. I didn't want them to think, oh, there's another Chevy.
Yeah.
So the
there you
only
go.
way to identify as a Pontiac is the Indian head.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like the start of the Indian head from the original 49. I wanted it redesigned. So
Okay.
there was an artist in Lansing, Michael Young. I contacted Michael. He looked the car. I gave him what I envisioned in my head. He took his scratch pad and he had 6 or 7 come back a few days later, modified it, come in 3-4 days later, and he presented me with the one that was perfect.
Okay.
Then I asked him, I said, well, Michael, is there any way you can do a clay mold? And he made me a left and a right because we needed 2 different directions. You
Yep.
can't
Yeah,
just throw
yeah,
one.
you're going over that
Yep.
when I looked at
Yes.
it like that.
And-
Very, very cool feature.
He took and made the clay molds. They shot it. Jason Frazier wrote the program for the CNC then. John Clary, a customer I was working on his cars, he took and had a machine shop. So John Clary took and fired it up and cut the Indian heads out, brought it back to us. And we got them back and they were a little heavy. And I said, man, we got to shave the back of this. And he said, well, I'm afraid my machine could give way. So we set up in the shop and took a 3 horsepower router, bought the bits, put a guide on it, and sat there. Had a guy for 8 days. Dave sat there for 8 days
So you milled it
trimming.
out with a handheld router.
on the back side,
On the
so
back
we
side,
can
and held it
control
up.
it solely because we didn't want to damage the front.
Yeah.
The
You
front
wanna
was
damage
so
the front.
I
perfect.
didn't want to damage it by chucking it up in a
Yeah.
CNC and
That's a lot of work.
clamping it and messing up all the little.
So what'd you get? Like a big
lines.
Milwaukee 3 horsepower router?
I did 3 horsepower, variable speed, played with a couple bits.
Yeah, I
and
got a
Dave-
long line of history doing CNC work. So that when you said that, I'm like, I know exactly what you did.
Well,
That's a lot of work.
We milled a 1/4 inch at a time till we
Yeah.
got the first one down. Then we know where to go and how far to take it. And because the head's so cut down so low, you got to be careful.
How many bits do you go through?
I think he went through 3 or 4 or so.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay, I thought it'd be a lot more. I guess that's a really soft metal, so it kind of goes through. It's like cutting MDO board or something like that. You know. Wow, that's pretty neat. You guys did that. So I did like the feature when you opened up the door, when Derek opened doors, he showed me the driver's and passenger side and how they face each other, and even on the floor mats. That was a really neat idea. And it's those little details that people get through, and even going to the steering wheel, the cutout to see the gauges. That's a neat tradition, and they started that in the 40s and 50s back in the day with the Futura cars, so you could see more of the gauge pile and all that stuff instead of the big steering wheel. The steering wheels were a really cool piece of jewelry, but then when you cut it out, that's really neat that you did that.
Everybody's so aggravated that you fight tilting the steering wheel or move your seat up and down trying to get where you can see your speed limit.
Right,
And
because
this
it's always
way-
right here because you put your hand like right there. And then if it forces you to have your hands here, then you can see the whole, beautiful.
or
Yeah.
one of them there.
Or
the
one
other
of them,
end.
one on the other side of the other. That's a really neat piece, yeah. Now the drivetrain, you did decide to go with a regular GM drivetrain then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Went with the LSA supercharged
Supercharged. Is that
V series.
any dyno on that thing or
They did a chip. So when I did the programming and the wiring for it, they programmed the chip and set it all up,
Okay.
knowing what they knew the transmission, they knew the rear end, they knew everything about the car.
Okay.
So they knew that it was a 6L90, 6-speed automatic. They knew that the Curry customized rear end. They knew the gearing.
They knew
in
all
it.
the gearing and all everything that's going on there. So, and obviously right now, I'm just assuming because we had a great A car and we're at the Detroit. So we have not had this thing on the road or no road test yet. It was just in and out of the trailer so far, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. It was, there was two brothers we interviewed a couple weeks back, and I think it was with the impressive Impala. And they always said it would never go on the road and do whatever. And one of them went on the road, one of them had to go on tour for their machine shop, for their shop.
Yeah.
And then one of them, there was a video on one of them's TikTok page that he took it around the block. It was pretty funny. So it's so now one of the things I could ask you is, so now you said a pretty small shop, and about how many employees you got?
So I have 4
Okay.
that work with me, and we're a really tight knit group.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer that when you're designing and building cars to come to this level of competition, that not only does everybody have to be on the same page, but I think that everybody in the shop needs to know a little bit about everything about how to build a car. Because if I need a hand someday, or if somebody's gone,
You're gonna take over.
we don't want the shop to stop progress on the car that's got
Right.
a deadline and a very important client and a very important car.
Yeah.
So I've got guys that help me do the interior work, and guys that work with me. I paint all the cars as well, and we all work together to prep the cars and metal fabricate and design. And then I'm the lead designer of the company, and I always work real closely with the customer to make sure not only we're interjecting their ideas into the car, but we all want to do our best and make something real special. So we all make sure we spend the time necessary to do that.
Yeah. And now is the interior, you do the interiors in house also?
Yes, we do. I
That's
got
very
my own
impressive.
sewing machine right in the shop, and I actually fabricate most of the interiors while I'm building the car, and I make the panels and gap and fit everything,
That's
so I know
that's
where
a
I'm
huge
going.
plus for a builder. They have it all in house, because a lot of these builders sub it out.
Yeah, and I also think from a design standpoint,
Yeah.
you can make a lot more authentic piece of art when the same person is involved with every
for
step
sure.
of the build. So when
Yeah.
it's done, it looks like one thought, one beautiful idea, one finished piece of art.
That's a very good thing to do because if you sub these things out, whether it's you're the builder, you're the metal guy, you're the fab guy, going to the interior part of it, then all of a sudden they might have their own take on it, where you might have given them a whole punch list of what to do, and you pick it up and it's different. We've all been there.
Yes.
We've all been there where it's not what I told you to build. It's not what I told you to do, and well, I thought I'd change it up a little bit for you. So as far as the yesterday, the grade 8 gets revealed. How was the? How'd you receive it? What were you thinking? Did they come be the first flag,
Danny?
the last flag? Did they dance around you? We all know the game around
my
here.
goodness,
So.
I think we were maybe the 4th car. So Danny, you want to talk a little bit about how exciting that was?
I don't know if I can talk. I couldn't talk yesterday because I was crying so bad.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we all were tearing up a lot, and it's been
It's-
emotional the whole last day and a half.
And what I tell people is that what I mean before Danny gets started here is that the grade 8, if you've ever been here, and like you said, this is the first time you've ever been here, so I watch it for years. Is the judges come out with the flags, the cars get unveiled on Friday morning, and the grade 8 they get unveiled. And what they do is the judges, I think Pete does it on purpose, I swear. But even though your car might be here, they kind of go around and they do the swoop. They do the swoop everywhere, and they'll drop a flag here, and they'll come back around. They'll drop a flag here. So they make everybody kind of sweat at what's going on. It's the intense build. So did they go by you at first?
Yes, they did.
There we go. That's what I thought. Okay, so all right. So give us your rundown in your eyes of what was happening.
We were sitting there, and you could see the 8 flags, and it was coming from the left, and they were up there a little bit. Then they went down just right about where our car was, and they stopped, and they did a little talking, and then they went down, clear down to the right, and placed the first one.
Yeah.
It was very nerve-wracking in some ways.
I bet it was.
But when they come up the aisle and made the turn our way, and you could see their eyes were right on us,
Yeah.
it totally teared me up, and I couldn't talk.
I can
then,
tell you're still
and,
getting teared up now.
I am teared
That's
up
all right,
all
man.
day
That's what it's all
yesterday.
about. That's what it's all about, man.
Just so excited, to receive the award of the grade 8 alone,
Yeah.
let alone have a chance for the Riddler.
Yeah.
But I know how gifted this young man is next to me.
Yeah.
And I know that he is a believer in the Lord like I am. And I know that we are on a mission sent by one person. And it's all come together.
And that's true. My mother always tells me no matter where I go on the road, she watches over, every mile of her breath. She always tells me that. She signs my trailers, my bikes, and, all kinds of stuff, So she's always watching over us. And, I started this brand here for my father, who taught me to, be in the hot rod bike community. He passed away about 11 years ago now. And, no matter what builder I have in here, whether it's Kindig, whether it's Foos, they've all signed my wall. You can see them all over the place here.
Yeah.
And they do the same thing. They said they're blessed, very blessed by God every day and what goes on and, what you got going on. So I think no matter what it is, and it's very impressive that neither one of you two have a big head about it and doing everything. And it's just very cool you can pass it on. So it's just, it had to be like the holy moment for you, when it goes through.
It totally was. And then my cousin went with my mom and flew up here. My mom's 91 years old.
Oh, no way.
And real
Yep.
good. They flew into town.
Yes.
They've been at the hall yesterday.
That
They were
is
at the
so
hall
cool.
today looking around.
Really?
So my
Yes.
cousin's 67. My mom's 91.
Really?
And, yes. And they wanted to come to see the car and to see what the grade 8 was like.
Wow. Doesn't get any better.
No.
Nope.
No.
No.
I mean, you could just cancel it all out today and be done with it. Doesn't matter if you
It's
win or not.
incredible.
I mean, that's a bucket list that nobody can take away from you ever.
No.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. That is so cool. I mean, and to have your mom here and get a picture, I'm sure you got some great pictures with all of it together
Yes.
too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's hopefully tomorrow. We got you got the big unveiling tomorrow. And so you guys gonna go to a big dinner tonight and all the stuff. You got anything big planned or anything? Or?
I don't know that either one of us can stand to leave the car.
It's most of them will sit here. A lot of the grade 8s, people that are here, and because you're on such a high and you're here, and after it's gone this weekend, it's gone. There's never that first grade 8 win again for you. So I mean, if it was me, I'd stay here till close. That's what I usually do.
Yep.
I still get enough, even when we don't have cars in the rundown and specialties. I mean, we have one that's a scout that's over there, on our side. We're not in the grade 8 or nothing like that, but it's just Mike Waltonberry built that one, and it's the first time they haven't been here to Detroit too, and they're getting such a response, and it's just like
that's
you.
awesome.
Yeah, and I mean they took place on the Crystal Winter Award in Milwaukee when they first premiered it, and they got invited here, and they said the same thing. We've never been here before. Mike Waltonberry's been here before, but Wes, the guy who owns the truck, has never been here before. And he's just like you, Danny. He can't believe it. He just can't believe it. He goes, I don't even want to leave. He don't want to leave because he can't believe the response they're getting. So the car world, this industry is something that it brings people together like no other. Like your mother coming here and stuff like that. Moms know it. That it all started with our first Hot Wheels, I guess. You don't even want to say it. Look where we're at.
Mine started with a pedal car.
I think. Oh, yeah,
So
pedal cars. Yeah.
I've got a picture at home of me and my brother, me behind the steering wheel of a pedal car, and in the house, of my lake house, I have a duplicate of the same car that's been totally restored with the dump bed truck on it.
Sure.
And then in the same room up there, I've got an Art Linkletter pedal car that's a Surrey with a fringe on top.
Really?
So they bought the pedal car, and then a year or 2 years later, they got this Surrey that you pedal and drive.
Yeah.
So it started as a
That's
youth.
so cool.
As a youth. And
Yeah.
then I had to go out and find a Surrey with a fringe on top that had never been touched. And then I found a restored pedal car that matched the one
The one
in
that
the
you
black
had.
and white picture that I have.
So, no matter what happens tomorrow night, good, bad, otherwise, I mean, you still got to grade it. Whether you get the Riddler or not, is this going to be your last big build to do a Riddler or grade 8, or is there another one coming already? You guys already planning one?
It's hard to answer with my other half sitting out in front watching me here,
She's looking the other way. She can't hear what we're talking about right now.
But I'm sure that there will be another one. And I'm sure Derek and I are not finished as
Yeah.
far as enjoying
That's-
each other and enjoying the car world.
I think you guys are just actually, for a 10-year relationship so far, I think you guys are just getting started.
Yeah, I think
I can
so.
see the passion of both of your eyes when I look at you guys. It's very cool, man.
Thank you.
And so as we're talking grade eights, and we've been over the Nightmare, all the amazing details that you and I went over with the extending of the rockers and the chopping and channeling and all the smooth everything that you have going on. You've obviously saw the other grade eight cars.
Yes.
What do you think about the competition, and which one stands out for you right now?
There's so many beautiful cars in the grade 8, and they all have different styles and different techniques.
Lots of different this year.
And it's tough this year because there's several of them out there, to be honest with you, that I think are fantastic.
Yeah.
I think there's some high attention to detail, and I think that everyone that came this year deserves to be there, and I'm proud of all of them.
Yeah, that's a very good and respectable answer, because we were walking around too, and they asked me this morning when I got in here. I think I told you I was not feeling the best yesterday, so I didn't really get to talk to a lot of the TV people, and they asked me, like, what are my thoughts? I said, I didn't leave here till late last night, and I got here this morning, and I walked around by you guys with my jacket on, so I didn't really get bothered that much. And I was looking around your cars, and I thought, my gosh, every year, the more detail gets insane. And somebody told me there's like a 70 Monte Carlo, and it's like, for a Riddler? Before I got here. And I went and looked at it, I'm like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
I was like, for somebody to take the Monte Carlo, that was never it's never a Chevelle, it's never any stuff. So it was always kind of got the black sheep of the hot rod world. And all of a sudden I'm looking, I'm like, wow, that's really impressive. So it's amazing to me always what people make out of a Riddler car.
Absolutely.
And when it comes out of it, even like the Pontiac Chieftain, it's, I would have never thought it.
Yeah.
But you did it. You guys did it, and it's a great eight.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, no, congrats on where you're at right now and the rest of the weekend. And I'm thanking you so much for being on the show and stuff like that. And
Thank you for having us, and we're just so grateful to be here. And I want to thank Detroit Autorama and Championship Auto Shows, ISCA, MHRA, everyone for having us here this year. And just thanks for the best show yet.
Yeah, and then great luck to you guys on the future and what you're going to go
Thank
on.
you.
And we'll be in the room tomorrow night. See what everything's going to be going on. So
Great.
thank you very much. I'm glad it was so much more relaxing sitting up here than instead of having this be a bother.
Yeah.
So it seemed like you guys are more relaxed, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, isn't it
Sit
nice?
down for a few minutes.
I know. That's why everybody's like,
Yeah.
where are you? I'm like, I'm sitting over here in the corner. Nobody can find me. So, well, thank you guys very much for being on
Thank
the
you.
show. And
Thank
then,
you very
we'll,
much.
We'll see you go this weekend. So,
All right, great.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys.
Thank you
Bye
very
now.
much.